Good afternoon. First off, thanks to the governor for filling in some spare time for us today. That was great. I'm Sarah Crook, chair of the Nebraska Hall of Fame Commission. It is my pleasure to welcome you to today's ceremony inducting Malcolm X into the Nebraska Hall of Fame. My thanks to the Ravnon String Quartet, composed of Laura Linneman, Marissa Cooley, Gabriel Marks, and Alec Dole. Thank you for providing music today prior to the ceremony, a little extra, as well as following the ceremony. And now, if Brother Bilal Nasilla is here to give the invocation.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. This young man, Brother Rabin Kareem, and I are going to give the prayer, but we want to take time, just a little bit of your time, to explain what the Muslim prayer is. The prayer that Malcolm himself had to learn and know before he can make Hajj. This was a prerequisite for Malcolm. And the good thing about when he took what we call the Shahada, not the prayer, but the Shahada, he was then forgiven of all his sins once he did that. When he made Hajj, he was forgiven again for all of his sins. And in honor to the family, to the Malcolm X Foundation, to those who put this whole agenda together, we are honored to be here to represent the Muslim community, because this is the other side of Malcolm. Everyone really knows the political side of Malcolm. Little was said about the religious aspect of Malcolm, except for the time he was with the Nation of Islam. One of the things about Malcolm that all of us who are Muslims would understand this statement. It's not an insensitive statement, it's a statement. If you understood Islam and you understood the way that Malcolm died, you would then know that most of us would have loved to be in Malcolm's position, because Malcolm is considered to be a martyr. A martyr in Islam means you're up there with the Almighty. What would be a better place to be in? Okay, so when we look at Malcolm a little different than everybody else. We look at him for his political aspects, his social aspects, his historical, but we also look at him from the religious aspect. And Brother Malcolm, one day, inshallah. All right. Brother, would you explain the Shahada?
Inshallah. So when he went to Sahara and declared his faith, to become a Muslim, you have to say the Shahada, which is أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله. I testify that there is no God worthy of worship except Allah, and that Muhammad is his messenger and his slave. And our brother Malcolm X, peace be upon him, he used to recite the Fatiha every day in his prayer, which I will say in Arabic, inshallah. And Brother Bilal will say it in English. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
I seek refuge in Almighty God. In the name of God, the beneficent, the merciful, All praises are due to God, the cherisher and sustainer of all the worlds, most gracious and most merciful master of the day of judgment. You alone do we worship, and you alone we seek aid. Show us the straight way, the way of those who are the recipient of your blessings and grace, those who will not experience your wrath and who go down astray. Amen. That is our prayer. That is the most important prayer in Islam. What the brother just recited in Arabic and what I said in English is called the Al-Fatiha. The Al-Fatiha is the first chapter in the Quran, which is the holy book of Muslims, and there's 114 chapters. The Al-Fatiha is the most important. The Fatiha is the prayer because the other 113 answers the prayer that he just said in Arabic. So we're not giving you a long prayer. We gave you 7 verses of the most important prayer to a Muslim. And when I was saying that prayer, when you see us say Allahu Akbar and all that, if we don't recite the Fatiha, our prayers are not valid. So we thank you again. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to open up in prayer, and I hope you enjoy the festivities.
Thank you for those words and the understanding to go with it. The induction ceremony for Malcolm X into the Nebraska Hall of Fame is the 27th induction into this esteemed group of individuals. It is housed here in our beautiful Nebraska State Capitol building. The Nebraska Hall of Fame was created by the Nebraska legislature in 1961 to officially recognize prominent Nebraskans. The legislation stated 3 options by which an individual would qualify. They could be born in Nebraska, or they could have gained prominence while living in Nebraska, or their residence in Nebraska was an important influence in their lives and contributed to their greatness. The enabling legislation also required that the sports and entertainment world were to be of secondary consideration, with more emphasis placed on the cultural and social impact of an individual. Initially, one person was inducted every 2 years, with the exception being during the nation's bicentennial, when 4 Nebraskans were inducted. Since 1998, only one person has been inducted every 5 years, plus a requirement of being deceased for a minimum of 10 years was increased to a minimum of 35 years. These are high standards. And yet, every 5 years, the commission is faced with the tough decision of choosing just one person from the numerous nominations of some incredible people. It often takes more than one nomination cycle, as was the case for Malcolm X, to be chosen. The commission members take their process very seriously, reading all the submitted materials and having 3 hearings across the 3 congressional districts where supporters make their case for their candidate. This year, under the leadership of our former chair, Ron Hall, Malcolm X was selected. This was a decision long in the making for Ron. Unfortunately, he is not here, at least not in body, but it is fitting to read what Ron Hall had to say about Malcolm X. Malcolm X used the lessons he learned early in life and his intellectual power, dedication, and perseverance in the fight for freedom and equality for all during the civil rights movement in America. His work and his legacy continue to impact the citizens of the world. End of quote. Having an array of Nebraskans officially recognized in the Hall of Fame is fitting, given the diversity of peoples living in our state, both now and throughout our past. So thank you for being here today to witness this time-honored process, and of course, Malcolm X himself. So now I'd like to acknowledge the following guests and speakers. Please stand as I call your name and remain standing until all of your group have been recognized. And then the audience, please hold your applause until the end of each group in this project is the work of many hands, and we have lots of folks to acknowledge. So from state government, the Honorable Governor Jim Pillen, please stand and remain. Any current members of the legislature, please stand. Any former members of the state legislature, please stand. Also, Brent Daughtery, the Acting Capital Administrator, the Office of the Nebraska Capital Commission, and Roxanne Smith, Tourism Supervisor, Office of the Nebraska Capital Commission. Thank you for all your work and help. Senator Chambers, would you like to, if there's a seat up front? From the Hall of Fame Commission, thank you for my colleagues in working to select Malcolm X to the Nebraska Hall of Fame, and I will introduce them. Rod Bates, please stand and remain standing. Tim Heller, I don't think Tim made it, and Jim McKee, Jim Rose, Jill Dolberg, who is the Interim Executive Director of History Nebraska and thus serves as our Secretary for the Commission, and former Commissioner who was involved in this process, Aaron Wyatt. I'd also like to acknowledge Leslie Williams from History Nebraska, who managed this event and keeps the Commission informed of our duties and responsibilities. Thank you to all. During the sculpture selection process and the creation of the bust, we worked with Megan Dion of the Nebraska Arts Council. Is Megan here? There she is in the back. Thank you, Megan. And then there's the sculptor, Nathan Murray, the creator of the Malcolm X bust. We have a few key guests left for the planning of this event, and even more importantly, the nominator, several times over, of Malcolm X, Joanna Ejecki, the Executive Director of the Malcolm X Foundation. For funding the reception that will follow at the History Nebraska Museum, following this induction ceremony, Rhonda Seacrest, philanthropist extraordinaire. Is Rhonda here? And last but certainly not least, we need to extend a warm Nebraska welcome to some very special guests. Dr. Ilyasha Shabazz, daughter of Malcolm X from New York, and her guests who have traveled across the country to be with us today. Please stand and be recognized. It is now my pleasure to introduce Governor Pillen to present the legislative resolution and proclamation. Would Ilyasha and Joanna please come forward as well? The proclamation.
It's my privilege as Governor of Nebraska to put forth our proclamation. Whereas the autobiography of Malcolm X, published posthumously 9 months after Malcolm's assassination on February 27, 1965, outlined in his evolving philosophy. And whereas Malcolm X was an American human rights advocate, and to many, one of the most renowned figures in civil rights history, whose influence through his autobiography impacted generations of readers And whereas, for his Nebraska origins, his spiritual journey, and the international influence of his philosophy and autobiography, the Nebraska Hall of Fame Commission inducts Malcolm X and the Elijah Mela Elishiba into the Nebraska Hall of Fame. Now therefore it be, I, Jim Pillen, Governor of the great state of Nebraska, do hereby proclaim the 22nd day of May, 2024, as Malcolm X Day in Nebraska. And I do hereby urge all citizens of Nebraska to take notice. My privilege to sign as Governor of Nebraska.
We have here today the woman who was persistent in her nomination of Malcolm X for the Nebraska Hall of Fame. Joanna Ejeki, please come tell us about Malcolm X and his contributions to Nebraska and beyond.
Good afternoon. Thank you for everyone making time to be here for this historic moment. I also want to thank my board of directors at the Malcolm X Memorial Foundation, Omaha and Lincoln community for your support and diligence to get Malcolm X into the Hall of Fame. I would additionally like to thank Carmen Tapio and North End Teleservices for their support in helping to ensure that Dr. Ilyasa Shabazz and her guests could join us today, who you will hear from after me. Before I leave you today, it's important to really know that we recognize the significance of this moment. From here on out, the induction of Malcolm X into the Hall of Fame can be a tool for educators, historians, and emerging leaders to not only explain the importance of collaboration and follow-through for something of this magnitude to take place, but also help tell the full story of transformation of Malcolm. He was born Malcolm Little in Omaha during a heightened period of racial tension, and he evolved into the human rights hero that we know and love today, El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz. His legacy has inspired many generations, but we would not be able to fully appreciate that legacy if it wasn't for his wife, Dr. Betty Shabazz, and his 6 beautiful daughters carrying that legacy forward. It is my honor to be standing here with you today next to one of his daughters, Dr. Ilyasa Shabazz, who traveled here from New York to be with us, and let's welcome her and hear from her now.
Thank you so much. This is such a wonderful day. Such a wonderful day. Thank you for the warm welcome. I'm grateful to the Hall of Fame Commission and to this incredible young woman here, Joanna LaFleur Ejike. If we could just give her another round of applause. Thank you for inviting me following my father's selection for this Hall of Fame induction. Special thanks to the Malcolm X Memorial Foundation and the Omaha community for your faith, determination, and hard work over the last 20 years. It is such an honor to be here today as one of 6 daughters of Malcolm X and Dr. Betty Shabazz, and Also, as a granddaughter of Reverend Earl Little and his wife, Louise Little, while my father and his family did not remain long in Omaha after his birth, it is here that the roots of Malcolm X were planted. His influence has since branched out, influencing countless communities worldwide. He challenged us to be better human beings as he introduced a human rights agenda to the civil rights movement. During his pilgrimage abroad, he visited 11 African nations seeking to internationalize the struggle of Black people as the foundation of our human family, while strategizing better support for Black American citizens. Upon his return to the United States, Malcolm established the OAAU and embarked on a speaking tour which included a return to Omaha in June 1964, when he met Ernie Chambers and several key local human rights activists. This Hall of Fame induction is significant as it continues to push the boundaries set for our human family. Much like my father did, it calls on each of us to reflect on how we can personally make an impact in the world. I'm humbled and honored by the embrace of the residents of Nebraska. Thank you so much. Let Malcolm's dedication to truth and justice inspire us all, ensuring that future generations understand the full story of my father's life and transformation as it relates to their own journeys. Thank you all for being here today. I look forward to returning to Omaha and witnessing the developments at the Malcolm X Memorial Foundation. I thank you so much.
Thank you again to Joanna and Ilyasa. The Hall of Fame Commission, with the help of staff and the Nebraska Arts Council, particularly Megan, issued an RFP for the creation of the bust. We were very pleased to have the response of many talented artists, and even more pleased with our selection. Please welcome Nathan Murray, sculptor of the Malcolm X bust.
First of all, I just want to thank everyone for coming out here today to support this historic moment. I also want to acknowledge the work of a lot of people to get us to this point where Malcolm is inducted. That's been going on for the last 20 plus years. I started this project about a year ago after I found out I was a finalist for the creation of the bust, and I wanted to come at the project with sense of respect for who Malcolm X was, and I wanted to depict him respectfully as well. I know how important this piece is for the state of Nebraska, and I'm really happy to have my work honored here, as well as Malcolm X and all of his contributions to not just the state of Nebraska or the United States, but to the world. And I'm excited for what it means for the future of our state. Thank you.
Ask Nathan to stay here for just a moment because Governor Pillen has something I believe he would like to present to you. Please welcome Governor Pillen.
There's certain privileges as the governor of Nebraska on special occasions that I get to administer, and one is to make you, Nathan, for your extraordinary work, an admiral of the great Navy for the state of Nebraska. And so that's one more title to your name, and you are now Admiral.
That's great. Appreciate it.
Bet you a lot of you didn't know we had a Nebraska Navy, did you? We will now, the moment we've waited for, unveil the bust. Through the immense talent of Nathan Murray, this bust was created and made available as a gift to the people of the state. Now I, Sarah Crook, Chair of the Nebraska Hall of Fame Commission, by the authority vested in me, hereby present this bust to you, Governor Jim Pillen. Representing all Nebraskans for induction into the Nebraska Hall of Fame in our state capitol for all to contemplate his endeavors and admire his contributions to society.
Thank you, Sarah. As Governor of the great state of Nebraska, it's an extraordinary privilege and honor on behalf of all Nebraskans to receive the bust and to take care that it will be appropriately placed in the Nebraska Hall of Fame here in the state capitol building. All Nebraskans join me in expressing incredible gratitude to the Hall of Fame Commission, to our artists, to Malcolm X's family, and to the Malcolm X Foundation. Thank you.
At this time, I would invite Nathan Murray and Ilyasha Shabazz to unveil the bust.
I spent 46 years in this place. I never thought in my wildest dream that I would live long enough. July 10th, I will be as old as the number of keys on a piano, 88. I had a reason to stay alive, and it's been recognized. When you speak, they say, stand up so the people can see you. Speak up so the people can hear you, then shut up so the people will like you. And I want to say that I never thought I'd live long enough to see a white, conservative, Republican governor in a white, ultra-conservative state like Nebraska participate in the induction of Malcolm X into the Nebraska Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Chambers. The Nebraska Hall of Fame Commission again wishes to thank the Nebraska Legislature for the funding of the bust. This is the first one that is funded through the Hall of Fame Trust Fund. It was passed with LB 384 in 2021. And again, this is the first bust that has been funded through that legislation. A final thanks to all of those who have worked for the Nebraska Hall of Fame Commission throughout this process. Again, they include History Nebraska, the Office of the Capitol Commission, the Malcolm X Foundation, the Nebraska Arts Council, the Nebraska Unicameral, and the Governor's Office. Thank you. A reception will be held at the History Nebraska Museum beginning at approximately 2 p.m. That will include a few brief comments regarding Malcolm X contributions in Nebraska and beyond. So we hope you can join us there for some refreshments following this event. And obviously, there'll be some opportunity for taking pictures. Again, thanks to the Strings, who will play again concluding this. And we thank you for attending today's 27th induction into the Nebraska Hall of Fame of Malcolm X. Thank you.